Hey y'all, and welcome back to another video of My Creative Life with Kel Sweetie, where we read books, we make art, and during a certain time of year, we start to Halloween decorate. Today, we're going over my craft for this marquee sign. Yes, I made this marquee sign from scratch. And this is a part of a larger series, Halloween crafting series that I am doing currently on my channel. If you've missed the last two videos where I repaint figures as well as make some fake popcorn and fake cookies, then you should go check both of those out after this video. They are both easier compared to this one for certain, but they are really useful for your Halloween decorating season, and even some crafts that you could even change up for Christmas. So make sure you go check those out. But for today, we will be going over how I made this. Let's get into the intro, and then I can talk a bit more about how this all came to be. This marquee sign was not on my bingo list for crafts this year. I kind of came up with this after kind of sitting with another idea that I had in mind, which was to string up these drive-in theater marquee like letters that I had gotten off of eBay. I got a huge 360 letter set for $30. That is with free shipping. I really don't understand why that person had it for that cheap, but I'm not complaining because a lot of other ones were a lot more expensive. But I was going to string them up. I'd gotten the idea from Tim Holtz Halloween, no, their Christmas decorate decor. I'll link it down below, but basically they showed their house during the holidays, and they're a huge inspiration for me and my maximalist vintage heart. And so I was going to string them up underneath my television for my monster movie mash area. However, the situation was that I had no idea how they were going to stay up. My house has no central air. Command hooks don't really work for me. Honestly, every day is a blessing whenever command hooks stay up for me. And I really didn't know how to put these up without putting holes in the wall. And then even after I did that, there was a conversation of gravity. These are pretty heavy, and I was concerned with them running into one another while they're strung up. And then there was just the obvious fact that I was going to have to drill into each one of these to put two holes in order to string them up in the first place. And I didn't honestly want to do that. The original idea was to put my favorite quotes from my favorite movies up. As you can see, that's probably not going to happen just because of how big this is. I didn't realize really how large those letters were. If they were much smaller, like for the very small marquee signs, that definitely could have been a possibility, and I think it's something that I want to workshop for the future, maybe buying really small ones to do. I just think that would be really fun to have these like quotes to guess from every week or so. I wanted a marquee sign because I wanted the vintage theater aesthetic, but I didn't want to pay for a marquee sign, especially not a vintage marquee sign. So I decided I was going to make my own. I ended up looking online and Frankensteining a bunch of different crafts together and taking measurements, and I got lucky. And one thing that Michaels always really does is their frames and their shadow boxes are always on some type of sale, mainly because a lot of people don't go to Michaels to go and get their things framed or really buy those shadow boxes, so they constantly are on sale because they're trying to get them off the shelves. I got this during I think it was 50% or 60% off sale on Michaels.com, not in store, but online. I got this shadow box that's usually like $70. I got it for $30. So I automatically got those. I got these LED lights on Amazon for maybe 12 bucks, if that, and they change colors. So expect to see some different colors throughout the rest of the year. I could possibly keep this up even for Christmas and everything and change it out for different movies. This is really affordable compared to how much it would have cost me to buy a vintage or even a marquee sign that was brand new for this size. So I did some research and I added it all together, and this project cost me about $100 in total to make. Keep in mind, I looked it up, and to get something of this size that actually lit up would probably be around the same price from Amazon. Now, here's the point. I saw those marquee signs, and while they're essentially the same thing, they don't necessarily look vintage. The letters are much thinner, so they don't have that classic drive-through or marquee theater type of look to them like these letters do. They have it's completely different font, very thin lettering. If that doesn't bother you, then you should be fine. Just buy it. I'm not sitting here trying to get you to craft something and spend money if it's actually cheaper for you to just buy the thing. But if you want to go for something a bit more authentic, then I still say this is way better for you. I want to make sure that it's clear that you can buy this. It just won't necessarily be exactly what you may be looking for. It'll either be too costumey in the sense of it being a vintage theater sign. The letters will be too thin, but will still cost around the same amount, so it won't necessarily be exactly like the vintage look that you're going for. You have many options if you do not want to craft this, but I still feel like this is a great bang for your buck if you're going for something that looks traditional and you don't want to pay all of the money in the world to get an actual marquee sign. Let's continue with the video. I don't know how much a vintage marquee sign is. I'm not going to sit here and say that this might be like the cheapest version in the world, but if you're looking for something very specific in your sizing and you're looking for something specific like I was, here's an option for a craft. It really was doable, and I love how it turned out. So check out how I made this thing, and then we can check back in the outro on how I'm going to put this up. So okay, to start off, you're gonna need your shadow box. Yes, I know, very simple. I found mine on michaels.com. They have tons of different sizes. They always have sales because they're trying to get rid of them. So I recommend to go there and see if you can use some coupons there. I'm now spray painting the back side of the shadow box so that it's not on the front and gets scratched up with that frosted glass spray paint. This stuff was so easy. I put like 3 coats on top of it, and if you see right here, it still seems like, well, I can see through that. Don't worry, it has to develop, and it'll slowly, as you see it's starting to develop, it'll slowly start to frost up. I just needed 3 coats of that. I'm now measuring my dowels to cut them down to size so that they fit inside of the frame of the shadow box. And right here, I'm seeing if I cut them correctly, which I luckily did. And I'm also figuring out how far apart they need to be because, like I said before, since I did buy this shadow box, it's not exact, like built exactly to those letters. So at the top and bottom dowels, you're going to see there's just a teeny bit of space where I was making up the difference between the middle dowel and where the dowels needed to go so that the letters could fit in there. I'm just going to use E6000 glue to glue the dowels together and glue them onto the marquee sign. Here, you will see I got 2 sets of dowels, one larger one and one smaller one. The reasoning for that is because you're going to need that smaller one sandwiched between your glass and your larger dowel so that you can slide your marquee letters around like a marquee sign. What I mean by that is you need a divot, and could you route in a bigger piece of board? Yeah, but this is easier. There's a reason why we're crafting it. So what you're going to do is try and put those smaller pieces of dowel right in the middle of your bigger pieces of dowel. You should be able to pick this up from Home Depot where they're the right sizing for this to happen and not have any issues. I'm going to say this because this is the biggest tip ever. Well, I have another big tip, but I'm going to say it again at the end of this video because this is what became an issue at the end when I was looking for the cleanliness of this craft. Make sure your dowels are straight. I cannot stress that enough, because my dowels not being straight ended up being an issue in whether or not I was able to easily slide my marquee letters into the sign and around the sign. So please, 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 I cannot stress that enough. Make sure that they are straight when you buy them from Home Depot or wherever your hardware store is. I'm now painting those dowels after they've dried with just some basic black craft paint. That's it. Now I'm taking that LED strip, and this isn't anything special. I bought it off of Amazon, and I'm going to stick that on the inside lip of the frame. There should be like a sticky side to your LED strip, and you're just gonna lay that on the inside. Now, another big tip coming: when you put down that LED strip, do not move it again. It's stuck there, because what I found is that the LED sticky stuff, it's not really meant to move around much. It's meant to be down once and then you don't move it again. Because if you move it again, it'll stick to your material, but it'll rip off of the LED and then you have all these gaps. So if you notice it got a little messier, that's because I couldn't move it around. I wish somebody would have told me that beforehand. You also don't really need to route a hole. I thought I was going to need to for the bottom cord. It'll fit in there and it's thin enough where it's not a problem. So just put the backing on the back again. Make sure that you have your hooks up at the top and your cord down at the bottom for obvious reasons, but it should just slide back into there very easily. See right there? It's perfectly fine. It's not cutting off anything. And this is how that part turned out. I was very happy with this, because you were finally starting to see this, like what this was gonna be. This was a big turning point in the craft. Now, I'm going to measure out exactly where my dowels are going to go. I used a dry erase marker because it's easy to get rid of. A Sharpie, I'm sure, would work just fine as well. Here, I found the easiest thing to do was to take the straightest dowel that I had and put that in the middle and then measure outward from there for the letters to then sit for the other dowels to be glued down at and everything. One other tip that I have: just measure across and use your marker to just make a line across so that you're not eyeballing it. Right here, I'm essentially eyeballing how level it is. And my brain must have turned off and just didn't realize that I could do that. I got lucky with it still looking straight, but just do that. But I'm so happy with how it turned out. This was the final result. That's how I made the marquee sign. I'm really proud of it all. I'm still blown away that I made this thing. I will say it's not perfect, and here's some tips. One, make sure your dowels are straight. I did not make sure my dowels were straight, and it ended up being a big problem. This one is it's not, you can't tell looking at it straight on, but it'll really become a problem when you try to put these letters in. I have to literally, like, this is slightly loose so that I can push it up to put these letters in, or else they're not going in. These bottom ones, perfectly done. They were straight. It worked out perfectly fine. This one wasn't, and it was horrible. It was horrible to try and get it to stick because it wouldn't stay flat for me to put the books on, and it's been kind of a pain in order for me to put these letters in. So please, 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 I cannot stress enough, the hardest thing about this is simply making sure that your dowels are straight, because if you don't, it will bite you in the end. The other thing is, make sure that you're not like me and not measure all the way across and then have to eyeball it and maybe get lucky with putting it straight. I didn't do that, and then I realized later I should have just taken that dry erase marker and gone across the entire board so that I knew exactly where I needed to place my dowel instead of just doing it on the sides. You might have watched that and said, Kelsey, you're stupid. And I was, now looking back. But nonetheless, just make sure you do that. It'll make your life a lot easier. And last but not least, I'm going to put these up. There's many different ways. So, there's hooks on the back of it. I think that that's one way to put it up and the easiest way to put it up. The problem for me, however, is that we have a cord cover underneath our television, which is at least an inch or so up off of the wall. So I have to take that into account when I'm putting this up, or it's just going to get in the way. So there's two ways that I can go about that. Either I can put the nail out far enough, like use really long nails or screws and put it out far enough where it'll hang on it, but that doesn't seem smart. What I'm going to do instead is take some offcuts from my other project that I've done that are wood, screw those into the wall, and then screw into those wood planks to put this on top of. One, because we have plaster walls and the screw is in the wood, I trust a lot more this hanging off of that than just directly into the plaster where it kind of starts to wiggle. Personally, I know that then there's the conversation of the actual wood in the wall, but that's going to be put flush against the wall, so I'm not as concerned about that. The other way that you could do this is if you did a like French cleat and you put that on the back of your marquee sign and then put the other one on your actual wall. Both are possible. I have 2 pieces of wood to possibly do that, but I would need 4 in order to put it on either side of the cord cover. And I'm not looking to really do that, but I don't know. Maybe I'll end up doing it. The other way seemed easier. I know somebody in the comments right now is like, do the French cleat, quit trying to do the shortcut. But those are 2 ways to go about it. If you do not have a cord cover and you don't have plaster walls and all this other stuff, that's the other reason for getting a shadow box. It's easy to put up because they already give you the hooks to put it up on the wall. This is just a personal problem that I'm going to have. But other than that, I feel like this is completely achievable, whether you do it in any other like size or, I don't know, like I said, you could do this for Christmas, you could do, there's many different ways and reasons to keep this up all year round even. I'm considering keeping it up all year round, to be honest, because it's not necessarily just Halloween coded. And that space in between my television and my credenza has nothing there, and just seeing the cord cover bothers me very much. So here's an option for something, just for something that's fun. If you have also a cord cover that's getting in the way. Again, I can't say enough how surprised I am that I made this thing and that it actually worked out and that it's what it was in my mind. I would only say maybe get smaller drive-in theater marquee letters or whatever, so you can maybe do 3 to do a quote if that's what you wanted to do, like how I wanted to do. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward once you break it down and reverse engineer it. And I can't wait to show y'all how this looks in my movie monster mash area this year. I'm just so excited for how it turned out, and I can't wait to show y'all everything else. Keep on following, subscribe down below if you like today's video. We have 3 more craft videos coming. So, and if you've not watched the other 2 before this, please go check that out. And I'll see you on the next one. We're getting close to, y'all are getting close to seeing me decorate. As for me, it's one more day and I'm decorating, which I'm so excited for. I really can't wait to see these things that I've created in the spaces and the themes that I've created for this year. But subscribe down below if you're looking forward to that as well. If you made it to the end of this video, tell me what's your favorite Halloween movie. I would like to know. I think it depends for me. Like, are we going for a 90s Halloween, like classic kid type of thing? It's probably gonna be Halloween Town for me. Are we going for something that's like fall, not necessarily Halloween, but it's like kind of Halloween coded? Practical Magic. Like, that gets me into a fall mood immediately. Are we looking for something that's teen angst? Like Halloween, The Craft. And then, of course, if we're looking for a horror film, but it's not really a horror film because it's more of a mystery, but Scream. Scream is my ultimate ghost face. Absolutely love it. It's just this, it's Scooby-Doo. It's Scooby-Doo for grown-ups. So those are my top 4. I don't even know, like, what would I put for my top 5? I don't know, because I've really got into series lately. I've been watching a lot of series to get me in, like, Halloween specials and episodes and stuff. Let me know down below if you made it to the end of this video what yours is. I will see y'all in the next one. Thank y'all for watching. Bye.